Hi, everybody. Dave Koken and Al McMorty. We are here on this Friday. We're going to take a look at a couple of NBA games tonight. College basketball, of course, has the very short slate on Friday, and we're gearing up for a big weekend of NFL action. Al, let's start off by looking at tonight's Chicago-Indiana matchup. Any thoughts on the game?
Well, I mean, this is a great game to watch. You know, Chicago lost 2 nights back at Charlotte. Indiana comes into this ball game off a win over the depleted Dallas Mavericks. The Bulls have been installed as a 1-point road favorite in this ball game. I'm going to lay the 1 point here, as Chicago falls into a system of mine that's 61-32 against the spread, going all the way back to 1990. And what we want to do is play on any rested team. If they're off a loss, they're on the road, and they're matched up against a divisional opponent off a win and cover. If that opponent has a losing record, which of course Indiana does, and our road team is priced from -7 to +2.5 points. So I think this is a really good situation to step in and take Chicago, and I'll lay the 1 point, Dave.
Well, I like the same side in the game without any technical assistance. I just think it's, these teams are very familiar with each other. And the Pacers have had some good moments this year, but of late, not really showing that they're just not putting the ball in the basket is about what it comes down to. Chicago has withstood I was wondering what would happen to this team when Noah went out with the injury. They haven't really missed too many beats, and he's going to be back pretty soon. The Bulls are a team that's kind of, in a sense, under the radar, which you wouldn't think it'd be the case. They're a big market team. They've got a rich history going back to the Jordan days. And yet, nobody's really paying attention to them. Miami and Boston and Orlando continue to get all the attention. Chicago Bulls are a good basketball team. I think they're actually a little bit undervalued right now. Al, what have you got on the website today?
Well, I'm featuring my Fortune 500 Club NFL Playoff Game of the Year already this season, Dave. We've cashed our Fortune 500 Club NFL Game of the Year, College Football Game of the Year, College Bowl Game of the Year, and College Bowl Total of the Year. And so now we go for the 5th straight big winner on the Fortune 500 Club play, and it's only $19. That's right. You can pay online $500, or you can call the following phone number, and it's just $19 for today only. Call 866-896-1628. Get our Fortune 500 Club NFL Playoff Game of the Year, only $19, 1 day only, 866-896-1628.
Move on and look at the matchup between the Dallas Mavericks and the San Antonio Spurs. And these teams have battled each other over the years, that's for sure. They're both solid squads this year. But, I tell you something. Before we talk, let me mention what I've got going today. It's my NBA game of the week. It's neither one of the games we're talking about on today's edition of Proline, but I think there's one great spot on the schedule tonight. NBA game of the week. It's only $25. It's real easy. All you have to do is go to ProLineTV.com, one click, and the game's yours. It's as simple as that. $25. NBA game of the week. It goes tonight. It's not the Mavericks and Spurs, but again, talking about these two teams, Dallas, I think that there's just still the same Dallas Mavericks. They're going to be a good squad on any given night. They can beat anybody, but when it comes to the big games, the games that really matter, this club just doesn't get it done. San Antonio does. The Spurs are not the same style of basketball teams we're used to seeing out of them. San Antonio was a team that regularly held opponents to ridiculously low point totals, played great defense, did enough on offense to get the job done. Now this is a team that can go up and down the court with anybody. They've kind of changed their philosophy. That's excellent coaching by Greg Popovich. I don't think the Mavericks match up especially well with San Antonio, and while I suspect it could be a close basketball game, I got to go with the team I think is going to win the game, Al, and that's San Antonio.
Well, I'll respectfully disagree with something you said earlier on when you said that, Dallas doesn't win the big games, for example. I'll tell you something, Dave. This Mavericks team, before Nowitzki went down, before Caron Butler got injured and will be lost for the season, this Mavericks team may have been the best team in the Western Conference. This is a team that went into the Miami, the American Airlines Arena down in Miami, and beat the Heat straight up. right at the same time, they beat Orlando straight up on the road. They did the Miami two-step, so to speak, and won both those games on the road. They were one of the only two teams this season. San Antonio, I think, is 20-2 at home. They're one of just two teams to go into the Alamo City and win straight up. They beat the Spurs 103-94 earlier this year.
Yep.
This was a great Mavericks team before they lost Butler and Nowitzki. Nowitzki, of course, is day-to-day. He won't play tonight, but he'll be back soon. But with the loss of Butler, we'll never know how good this Mavericks team could have been. But I thought they were making great strides now with Chandler in the post for the whole season. And I really like this Mavericks team before the injury, so we'll just respectfully disagree there. Scott Spreitzer and I, earlier in the year, we were reading the San Antonio newspaper, and Greg Popovich was talking about, making this a much more up-tempo team than in years past. So what we did that first game, we played on the over in the matchup between the Pacers and the Spurs to open the season and made a lot of money. Well, I was reading the newspaper again last night, and Greg Popovich is frustrated he feels his team has gotten out of the pace that he wanted lately, and he wants them to speed up the pace tonight. I like this ball game over the total. It opened 191. I think a lot of folks might have been reading the same thing I've been reading as it crept up to 192 and then 192.5 in spots. I still think there's value. I think the Spurs will dictate the tempo tonight, and I would take it over the total of the 192 or 192.5, Dave.
I'll tell you, one of the guys who's really helped that tempo work is George Hill, who, basically unknown coming into the NBA. He's turned out to be a pretty good player, hasn't he?
Yeah, George Hill is a great player at both ends of the court. He's got long arms. He's they kind of call him Spider-Man. He's a great defensive player. He'll be the guy that they'll stick on Kobe Bryant when they play the Lakers. So, he's not as good as Bruce Bowen was. That's the one thing the Spurs still do miss. They miss that lockdown defender, but George Hill's probably as close as it gets on that team right now. And he's a very good defensive player, very good sixth man for the Spurs. And the Spurs, what makes them great this year is they're getting production from everywhere in their lineup. Tony Parker's been cold lately. No problem. Matt Bonner goes out and gets 17 points. You've got this bench now, Matt Bonner, Gary Neal, George Hill, Antonio McDyess. Thiago Splitter, the ballyhooed center that was coming over from Europe, he's Brazilian, but he was playing in Europe. He hasn't even sniffed the court this season, and he was the reason that most Spurs fans thought that they might be able to rebound and be a good team this year, and he can't even crack the rotation. So that shows you how deep San Antonio is this season.
They are loaded, that's for sure. So is our weekend show on Proline, which is going to be available tomorrow. Just to tease it, let you know what we're going to be doing. We're going to have 2 of the NFL playoff games we're going to break down. Also, we're going to look at a couple of huge college basketball matchups. Missouri, Texas A&M, and here in the Mountain West, New Mexico's playing host to San Diego State. So the expanded version of Proline, the weekend version, Jim Fleiss will be along with Al and myself. Scott Spreitzer, little family stuff that he has to take care of, so he won't be with us for this week, but Scott will be back next week. So make sure and check that out tomorrow here at ProLineTV.com. Take advantage of the offers. Make some money tonight. For Al McMorty, I'm Dave Koken. Talk to you soon. Have a great night.